Welcome to everybody. It is time for the Monday webinar. We have some great setups to talk about and some really good things to cover, and I'm pretty excited about all of it. First off, I have been working tirelessly, and by I mean somebody else, on getting my website done. We're like 50% of the way there, but we're getting there. We're getting there. That's the goal. So when you go to Day Traders FX, you'll kind of notice a different page. This is like 30% done, but it's getting there. It's getting there. And so, anyways, you can go to daytradersfx.com. Little quick explanation on what we offer. You can get a free trial by clicking on this yellow button. Again, this page has got a lot to go, but that yellow button will take you to our join page and give you the different options there. If you'd like to get a free trial and see how we trade and what we do, you can get annual memberships as well as monthly memberships. So everything's there. You can get a 5-day free trial once again and join us for the week of trading and kind of see how we do everything, see how it all goes, and so on. A good example of that is we've been talking about the Aussie New Zealand and where we want to buy it. And at the beginning of these webinars, I've been talking about the last couple of weeks 107 being an interesting level, but we never got in at 107 because things change, market conditions change. So everything that we talk about here are trade ideas that I like right now and that I think have good long-term perspective. But things do change throughout the week, from week to week. So that'll be a big benefit in being part of the group. You'll kind of get more of an updated look at what we do. Okay, so just a quick little look here for anybody. Again, these buttons are changing. Sorry guys, but. There's our member login on the website. You can go to the blog. This is for everybody. You don't have to be logged in here, although you will see some extra stuff because I'm logged in. But the blog's here. You can read my trade ideas. In the blog area is where I talk about some of the things I'm doing, like this pound-dollar trade, which was posted a few days ago, and Aussie New Zealand and so on. So anyways, you can check that out. There's a lot of things here, watch list, downloads, and so on of some of our indicators. The trading course, for those that bought the trading course, you'll be able to access that. For those that didn't, you won't see a drop-down menu, and for those that did, you will. So there's a lot of stuff there. Anyways, again, it's most of the way done, but it's getting there. So give us a visit at daytradersfx.com. We'd love to have you stop by. 2014 has been a very exciting and very wonderful year. 2015 is going to be even more exciting and even more wonderfulist. We've got some new things coming up. I've got some fun, exciting changes coming to the group, coming to the website, coming to what I offer, just everything. So I've been working on a lot of stuff secretly for the last couple of months, and I hope you guys will find all that we have coming very useful to your trading. I want everybody to know that the entire reason that I have this group, the entire reason of this group is not to make me money, because I make money trading, and I'll be honest, I do make a little bit of money from this group, but it's honestly not a lot of money, and I don't do it for the money. I do it because I realize that there is a real and I'm not trying to sound all John Lennon or anything here, but I realize there's a real problem in our society today, and that is economics. The economics of our world is scary, to say the least. I have 2 little kids, and I would be terrified if I were not a trader right now. I don't know what I would do. Not to say that any other job is crazy, and a lot of there's some really great jobs out there, but and some great careers and some great things that all of you guys are involved in, and that's all super excellent. But there's so many people that do not have the opportunities that some of us have, and so I have this trading groups to be able to hopefully facilitate those in getting involved in trading and taking control of their future a little bit more, instead of being in a job that maybe you don't love and doing something you don't love, and hopefully and so you don't have to count down the days of when things might change, when your department might get downsized, you might get laid off, anything like that. So I just have a lot of, I have friends and family that have been through a lot of traumatic financial experiences, and trading has really turned out to be a great avenue for myself and for so many that I know and so many people that I've worked with. And so that's the whole purpose of this group. I'm not here to get money out of people's pockets. I'm here to help you guys realize your goal as a trader. That's the entire reason that we're here, to make more money, because that is one of the biggest problems on this planet right now, is just how much time we have to exchange for how much money. And trading is such a great avenue for making that the most favorable situation. So that's the purpose of this group. That's why we're here. And again, I commend all of you that have put in the time and effort to be here and to learn trading, and I welcome all those that are visiting. And I hope everyone has a great experience and a great trek with us. Okay. Good, Adrian. It's a retirement plan, and it's a good one as well. Okay, so having a look at just everything that we have going here, there is a lot of news coming this week. This is one of those exciting weeks where later in the week we have a lot of U.S. news. Wednesday, there we go. FOMC statement. That's always a big deal. That's coming on Wednesday. The dollar pairs could be very, who knows, very sideways, very anything going into the FOMC news, which is the day after tomorrow. So just keep that in mind. That's a huge news announcement. In just about a little less than 15 minutes, we have monetary policy meeting minutes from Australia. Again, that could be a decent mover. We're going to have a look at that and see how that goes. We've got some, we just have some pretty decent news coming up this entire week. Some UK interest rate votes, some CPI numbers. There's just some pretty decent news all week long, but definitely some of the highlights are going to be, for the US dollar, Wednesday, FOMC statement is going to be a big one. Retail sales on Thursday for the UK, that's always a big one, especially this time of year. Some Australian news in the early part of the week. We have a lot of stuff coming up, so it's pretty exciting. Should be a pretty good week of trading. Okay, so one thing that we want to keep an eye on, yeah, exactly. FOMC could make for a very Merry Christmas for a lot of us, and so that is super exciting. And speaking of the FOMC statement, and by the way, guys, questions, comments, send them over. If I can't answer things immediately, I will get to it towards the end of the presentation, but I will try to kind of incorporate your questions into what we're looking at, pair by pair. So have your questions ready. Try to, pound them into the chat there so that we can cover them as we go. One of the biggest things to watch this week, especially this week with the FOMC news coming up, is going to be the dollar index. This is DXY. DXY. Here is my chart of dollar index, and you can follow this and see that exact same chart right there. What we have is super interesting. Remember, we have talked about this dollar index a lot because we have this huge trend line. This is a huge trend line right here that goes all the way back, 30 years. It just keeps going and going and going. And what the dollar index has done is it's come up. This is a monthly chart, and it's come up to that big resistance level. And you can see that this resistance level is, it's clearing that trend line. It's making its way above that, but it's coming into the highs of, we have the highs of 2009 and highs of 2010, all right there. That's that 89.30, 89.50 area, which is a big deal. That's a big area, and so the dollar index is going to struggle getting past that. The thing that could help the dollar index clear that spot is going to be the FOMC meeting minutes, at least for this week, the FOMC statement, at least for this week. That's what's going to get us there. Remember, we have some signs. For example, oil is just heading straight down. Look at, whoops, that's the wrong chart there. Look at oil right now at $55 a barrel. Now this is NYMEX oil. There's some other oils that are a little bit higher, but overall we're below 60. We're nicely below 60. $55 a barrel. Keep in mind that this is the definitely the 52-week low of oil. The high is almost double of where we are, $102 not that long ago, and oil has just been tanking. So that's a decent sign that commodities are dropping. Gold is also down a little bit. We're going to look at gold, and that one's been taking a dive. U.S. stock markets are taking dips. I don't think we're going to see maybe as big of a correction in stocks as we've seen in oil and in gold, but you never know. Stocks could get there as well, but at least oil and gold are pretty big signs. And so this 89 kind of 30, 50 area, hi Sabira, nice to see you, is going to be the level to watch this week. You have to watch the dollar index. You have to get on TradingView. It's free to get on here if you don't have a DXY chart on whatever other platform you might be using. You have to watch this, because if we get above that 89.30, then it's, it's lights out for all these other pairs. Because we're looking at the euro dollar, we're looking at pound dollar, and it's pretty safe to say that we should be short euro dollar, and we should probably be short pound dollar at this point as well. But they're also at kind of decision points. Is there going to be more retracement? What's going to happen? And this dollar index is going to be the thing to watch this week. So keep an eye on this. Absolutely, absolutely. So that is going to be something to keep an eye on. And yes, that the poor Russian ruble is just getting hammered and pounded, as is the Mexican peso. We're seeing some big moves on those guys. So here's what I'm looking at this week. We have a couple of things in the works this week. Euro dollar. So a couple of things that I'm looking for here. I like euro dollar. I have no interest in the euro dollar short term. No interest whatsoever. Longer term, yes, absolutely. Short term, no. So I'm still looking for 126.50. Otherwise, I want to be short below 124.00. Here is 126.50 on euro dollar. Here's my daily chart. We're breaking out of this falling wedge. It's struggling like crazy, but if we can get a run up into that monthly and daily pivot area, then we're in the money and we can sell it off from there. So 126.50, we want to be short euro dollar if we get up to that area. We want to be so short euro dollar if we make it up to that area. But it's a question of whether we're going to get there or not. Now that's about 200 pips away. It seems like it'd be a really good opportunity to get into this and trade it up and so on and so on. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not super gung-ho actually to get into the euro dollar up to 127.50. But if we see some kind of wild break of about 126.50, if we see a wild break of maybe 125.00, I will consider a small position long euro dollar for 100 to 150 pips. But really what we'd rather see happen is a nice, crazy, wild, choppy move up into that 126.50, and then we just start selling it from there and riding it down into 120. We're going to hit 120. It's going to get there. We're going to get there. It will get there. And we're going to see one of those moves. Now, I definitely don't say on every pair like this is absolutely going to happen, but euro dollar will get to 120 on the low end, unless we see something super crazy coming out of the FOMC on Wednesday. But the euro dollar is going to hit 120. We're going to get there, so we need to be prepared for that. But it is at a point of some retracement, so we need to. I'm not ready to jump into it yet. However, we start getting below 124.00. And more specifically, like 123.50 actually is the level that I meant. I don't know why I have 124.00 because I actually wanted 123.50. Below that, I think the euro dollar is going to be a nice opportunity to just continue riding the movement down. It's retraced a bit, and we could definitely start shorting this if we break below that level. But I do want to get into it below that level. I don't want to get into it against these highs because it's just, this is a decision point for the euro dollar. We need to give it some time. So shorting from 126.50 or selling the break of 123.50 is basically what we're looking for in euro dollar. Should be exciting. There's some great moves in the works, and I'm super looking forward to it. Yes, and euro dollar and dollar Swiss franc are I think they're saving up for a big move, and so we got to be ready for those. Pound dollar, a couple of things to look for. I'm not super excited about getting short pound dollar until we see some rallies here. I'm just kind of waiting on the sell side here. So pound dollar, I posted on this, and the pound dollar did make a bit of a move. I talked about being long above 127.00. Or excuse me, 157.00, and here was 157.00, and it did, it made it up to about 157.55 and just kind of hopped around. and still made a run. So we have the 4-hour chart is telling us that it's ready for a little push. The daily chart is telling us it's ready for a push. We have this kind of thing right here. It broke out of this falling wedge very, very nicely and has pulled back a bunch. The high here is about 157.55. Above that, I think it would be a great opportunity to get some long entries up into the 160. I still think we're going to get to 160 on pound dollar. I'm still holding out for that. So 160 looks like a great opportunity on this pair. And we should get there. We should get there. I don't see any super exciting area that I want to get short for the moment on pound dollar. You can see that the last several weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 weeks or so, have been total sideways chop. For a solid month, it's been sideways chop. So I'm not worried about getting in on the break of the range here. I'm just worried about getting in on the break of a nice price pattern. We did have a decent little move down here, but I don't know. It's just not giving me enough yet. So I'm looking for a move above 157.50 and a possible run into the high 150s where we can start shorting it once again from around the 160 area. So I think that's going to be great on pound dollar. Just a quick note on Aussie dollar versus US dollar. We have a really nice little channel here. Look at this 4-hour chart. That's pretty intense. This thing has just been dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. If we get a break of this channel, which we will eventually, whenever that happens, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to sell the rally. But the Aussie dollar has just been coming down for the last few weeks. It just keeps dropping and dropping, and I've just been waiting to sell rallies this whole time, and it just is not retracing. And so I'm not getting into it until it does, because I'm not going to chase this thing down. But if we get some breaks, we should have some fantastic opportunities to sell rallies up around the 85.50 to as high as 8600. But 8500, 8550 area is going to be really interesting on Aussie dollar. If this moves up a couple hundred pips, we're going to sell the heck out of this thing and ride it like nobody's business back down. So this will be a great little move here. One thing to keep in mind is that we have cleared the 200 EMA on the monthly chart. That's kind of a big deal. We're nicely below it here, but it hasn't closed the month yet, and this could definitely turn around and flip us right back up again, and that's kind of what I'm looking for at this moment to see if that happens. So that's going to be pretty good. And yeah, exactly. A little test of that 200 EMA and then just right back on down again would be so great. So great on that 4-hour chart. So I love that. Let's just look to sell the rallies. Otherwise, I'm not doing anything specifically on the Aussie dollar versus US dollar. Just a super quick note, just like on this euro dollar, we're watching dollar Swiss franc, and 9,600 is an interesting level here. We have a nice rising wedge, we have a decent setup on the daily chart, and we have a lot of space and missed targets down here below. So we start getting below 9,600, and I think this dollar Swiss franc is going to be at least an interesting move for probably, it could be for 200 to 300 pips, but at least for 100 pips. 100 pips would be a nice safe assessment to get short on this dollar Swiss franc. So below 9,600 into 9,500 and possibly even into 9,300 could be a super great little setup. Yeah, we'll talk about those. The Euro Aussie Euro New Zealand and Euro Yen. We'll cover those for sure. So just keeping a half of an eye on that. I'm going to come back to the Aussie New Zealand here in just a moment because this is one of my favorite trade setups. Let's go to the pound Swiss franc real quick. This one is kind of a sleeper. The pound Swiss franc is super interesting because this is a weekly chart. We have no setups anywhere. The pound Swiss franc has been totally choppy, totally sideways. It's just been hanging out for weeks and weeks, months and months. This goes all the way back. If we zoom this out just a little bit, it's been totally sideways and directionless since June. Basically since June of this year. The last 6 months, it's done nothing for 6 months. And the pound Swiss franc is a very interesting pair in that it can do that. It can spend half of a year doing nothing, and it's had some decent spikes here. We've seen these kinds of moves down, and that kind of stuff, and it just seems to come right back up again. But the pound Swiss franc might just be ready to make that move back below 150. And when and if it does, we're going to be ready for it. We're going to be super ready for it because this is a wild beast of a mover. And if it does break below that 150, we're going to see this thing run into 14500 probably at least. So there's going to be 400 or 500 pips to trade on this one for sure. And yes, that's a good point, Adrian. Could we trade the ranges on this? And yes, you absolutely can. I probably won't, but yeah, there are some range trading opportunities. The only problem with trading the range now is that it's been in this range for so long, for so many months now, that it's probably pretty close to a breakout. So the second we jump into this thing, it's going to break out. So I'm just going to wait for the breakout. I've waited this long. I'll just keep on waiting until it breaks out, and we should get a huge move on pound Swiss franc as it breaks out. So anyway, that is coming. I love this trade. Below 150, I'm headed to 145. I think there's a 500 pip move, and I'm super excited about it. I think it's just going to be fantastical. So let's jump in on that one and just go for it. So that is pound Swiss franc. Pretty excited there. That's going to be a big trade coming up. The dollar yen kind of encompasses all yen pairs that I'm looking at, except for the Aussie yen, of course. Yes, Dave. Yep, we do have some Swiss franc news coming this week. We'll keep an eye on that in relation to dollar Swiss franc and pound Swiss franc for sure. Yeah, good point. But a quick look at this dollar yen right here. This little guy is looking interesting. I'm very interested in buying dips below 117. I think we still have some more rally in the dollar. And this is broken out. It's tested. It's cleared out the 15-minute and 1 hour charts, which we had there for a while. So we took those out a few days ago, and now it's just been kind of hanging out below 200 moving averages, hanging out below these levels. And there's a lot of support down here around 116.50, 116.75 even. So another 100 pips of movement down, and this dollar yen starts to get very, very super interesting, and I think we're going to have some great opportunities to buy some dips here. So I don't think the dollar yen is ready for any major significant move down. It's just pulling back right now, which is great. We'll take that pullback, and we will discuss. I don't have an exact entry area, but I do like 116.50 a good little bit. So if we get below, if we can break 11700, that'll be great. And if we can get into that 116.50 area, even 11600, we'll be actively looking to buy the dollar yen in that zone. So that's going to be a really good little spot. And again, it goes to all of these yen pairs. Euro yen is in a very similar situation. It's made a nice little run up. It's pulling back. It's doing some some nice little retracing there, and so yes, I'm thinking about buying all of these pairs on the dip. I'm definitely a lot less excited about buying euro yen on the dip and pound yen on the dip, and I definitely probably am not going to be buying the Aussie yen on the dip. But the dollar yen on the dip is just a great setup. It's such a great setup, and I like the pound yen as well. I think that's going to be a good one. But as far as the yen pairs go, I'm totally focused on dollar yen this week because I think that's got the best setup for us. It's got the best level. It's got everything that is super great. So we're kind of right in that area that we need to just be ready to attack and jump on it. And so dollar yen is going to be excellent. But again, pound yen looks good. But let's watch this dollar yen around 116.50 area. Another 100 pips down, and this one becomes a very, very super excellent buying opportunity. So let's be ready for that. And one that we are loving to death. We made 145 pips on this little move right here. I think it was that move. Right into that area. So we made 145 pips on this breakout on the Aussie New Zealand last week, and a very nice little move there. We sold that break, super fantastic. And now it's made this nice little run down right here. We're getting a little bit of a bear flag. And so I was talking about 10700 being my level of major interest, and it's lowered a little bit. We actually have a pending order. We're looking for a move down just a bit lower. I think 105 is probably a fairly safe area to start looking at long-term entries, long dollar, or excuse me, Aussie New Zealand. Now, it's going to kind of depend on some of the recent developments coming up, or the future developments of Australia and New Zealand. But Australia's having a little bit of a hard time with the economy, and New Zealand was borderline expected to cut their interest rates, and they didn't, which is why we got that huge move on this pair, because the New Zealand dollar was a bit more bullish, because interest rates, everything was pretty steady, pretty stable in last week's interest rate announcement and central bank news. So New Zealand is pretty strong still. So we're going to be very, very cautious about getting into this. But we're coming down to, again, when we get into these kinds of areas, we just have to watch and wait and listen and be ready for the action. If we get below 10500 on this pair, if we break 10500 by anything, that's going to be a pretty darn good go sign for me. I think we're going to be pretty ready to jump into this thing long if we start getting below that. It just doesn't seem to be able to do too much. In a big move, it could hit parity. We could see this go all the way to 1-to-1. But from there, that would be probably a fairly fantastic opportunity to just buy the heck out of it even more. But again, I'm liking 10500. I'm even liking below 10500 even more. So Aussie New Zealand is going to be super great. And remember, we're going to get into this thing and we're going to ride it up into the 200 moving average on the weekly chart. So if we get in around 10500 and we can ride it up to there, there's 1200 pips that we will attack and just go crazy. Go totally nuts. It's just going to be such a big, fantastic, excellent movement. But we've got to make sure that this move down is stabilized. And so far, we have a pretty nice little bull flag, or bear flag, right here. It's run down a good little bit. And there could be another couple hundred pips on this thing of downward movement. So again, we could get into even 104, even 103, anywhere in that area we could see coming. But we've got to be ready for that. We've got to be prepared. So we're not going to jump into this thing too soon, and we're probably going to be selling breaks of this little bounce back that we see right here. It's just been consolidating and bouncing. I will happily sell the break of this little trend line, getting us short probably just below 10600, and trading it down, into the 105 area again. See if we can grab 100 pips out of this. So Aussie New Zealand is looking great. We're gonna. For the short and even slightly medium term, we're still leaning towards selling this thing. But as we get just a little bit lower, another 1 to 200 pips, we become very bullish Aussie New Zealand. So it's going to be super exciting, super, super exciting. So I'm loving this one. This is going to be a big moneymaker for us. This will probably be the biggest trade that we ever take in this group, ever. And it could take a little bit of time to get there. So it could be something that we stay in for, a few months, but it's going to be a big trade. It's going to be massive. It's going to be fantastic. So those are kind of the setups that I'm looking for this week. And, I've looked through everything, and we have, somebody was asking about the Euro New Zealand, and I've been watching this Euro New Zealand, but it's just, this kind of stuff doesn't give me personally a whole lot to work with as a trader. I know that some people out there really like Euro New Zealand, Pound New Zealand, but I just see so much chop in here that I don't have any I don't have any good feel for which way this thing might be headed. So I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines with Euro New Zealand. I'm sitting on the sidelines with Euro Aussie and Pound Aussie as well. There's kind of some. There's kind of a bunch of something everywhere that is happening on these guys, but it's not ready just yet. We do have a little bit of a decent setup here on the 1 hour chart on Pound New Zealand, but again, it's we just got to be so careful. I just don't think that it's a safe bet at this point, unless we see some really wild and crazy news, to be getting long Australian dollar against the pound. It just seems a little too risky for me at the moment with the economics of everything. But it's a pretty nice little level. It's a pretty nice little area that we've got here, so it's worth keeping an eye on. When and if this breaks, which it will, there's going to be some movement down on this pound Aussie, so it's going to be worth keeping an eye on. But we've got to be super, super careful. And Adrian, the Euro CAD, is a very nice little setup right here. It's super, super nice. It's been making this little run higher, and it just kind of keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And the 15-minute chart is setting up pretty nicely. We have quite a nice setup on that 15-minute chart. All the max numbers are getting reached. So we're just kind of watching for a price pattern at this point. And this one looks really, really good. So definitely excited about getting in on this EuroCAD at some point in the next day or so. So it's a great 15-minute chart setup for sure. For sure. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So those are some of the setups we're looking for. Who did I miss anything? Did anybody want me to cover something that I didn't? Because I am happy to go back and jump into those and cover them. But we really have some super good setups coming this week, and I'm really more excited about the long-term situation. Remember, we have kind of this market timing situation. We have the markets will make these interesting moves. Everything right now is gearing up for the pre-summer movement. Whichever direction anything goes right now will probably be opposite for that pre-summer movement. If the U.S. dollar continues to rally, then we'll probably see a lot of dollar weakness going into this coming summer. If we see a bit of pullback right now over the next month or two, which I think we could very likely see, I think we could see euro dollar head higher, pound dollar head higher, then that's just going to set everything up for a perfect U.S. dollar rally going into summer of, over the next several months, going into the summer of next year and getting a huge move there. So that's all super good stuff. Yeah, Bo, the peso has gone totally crazy. Man, it's gone nuts. The Mexican peso has just run straight up, just no questions asked, just straight up. But it is starting to kind of, you can see this 1 hour chart, there's a huge gap in here, and there's going to be some areas for a little bit of correction, because this thing has just gone, non-stop. That daily chart is totally insane looking, totally insane. And so we're going to watch this. I don't have any specific entries that I'm ready for yet, but the Mexican peso has been on my radar for sure for a couple of weeks, and it just keeps going up and up and up. So we're going to be ready to take some entries here. There's definitely going to be something coming up on that one. And on the Aussie yen, where is my Aussie yen? Aussie yen, we're getting some Aussie yen questions. This one is definitely, Australia's kind of getting hammered right now. Remember, everything's just definitely on the move down. The Aussie yen made this huge run up, and then it's made this huge run down, and it's just reversing everything that it did. And so I'm kind of watching on the shorter term. I'm looking to see as soon as we get some break of this, this recent move down, yes, I could get very interested in buying the break of this, because I think there's, ultimately going to be more continued yen weakness than Australian weakness than anything else, really. But it does need to pull back, or excuse me, probably dip a little bit more before it pulls back and starts heading higher. So I'm going to watch that trend line. We'll keep an eye on that. We're working on some pretty interesting setups here, but there definitely is some more room for this to go. And Kevin, yeah, the Bitcoin, I used to have it on my charts, and then I don't have it anymore. And there's a lot of Bitcoin charts that you can find out there. I think TradingView has a few as well, and I just haven't tracked it much for the last probably 2 months, sadly. So yeah, I don't have too much to say about Bitcoin, sadly. But I think there's lots of potential there. Every time Bitcoin dips, you just buy it and it runs back up again. But again, I haven't watched it for about 2 months, so I don't really have too much great stuff on that one. Pound pending order 157.20 got taken in. Now riding reversal 85 pips down. Okay, all right, sounds good, George. It's definitely cray-cray, that's for sure, Bo, for sure. And Adrian, yeah, trading from Thursday to, I think the rest of this week should be good, and definitely chunk of next week, and then things will probably, it's interesting. I've seen big movements between Christmas and New Year's, and then I've seen markets just go totally sideways. I have a feeling it's going to be a sideways year between Christmas and New Year's, that whole break. So, the last half and then the last week at least of December will be just probably pretty sideways, and then the first few days of January are going to be pretty slow, but yeah, it'll slow down a little bit for sure. But there's going to be some good things to be doing in there. But yeah, pretty much past about mid-week next week. So by about Wednesday of next week, just be out and done for at least a week. And PP Potty, I'm holding off on the dollar, buying the dollar. So once again, just a little review of this dollar business. I think one of the biggest things is whenever we see actual candlesticks on weekly and monthly charts that have any kind of anything interesting going on, we have to really pay attention to that. And you can see that this weekly chart on the dollar index, we had this big run up to major multi-year highs, and then we've had train tracks really. We have this equal size candle coming right back down right next to it on a weekly chart. So for the moment, depending on what the FOMC comes up with on Wednesday, I'm leaning more towards not being long US dollar. I'm not short US dollar. I'm just not long. I'm just neutral for the moment. I want to get long US dollar once again. If the news comes out and we pound through this 89.30, then I'm totally long again. But 89.30 and this little reversal pattern is haunting me a little bit. So I'm going to be very cautious about being long US dollar until we clear that high, because this is a pretty large pattern to have this kind of reversal set up on. So I'm neutral US dollar probably this week, and I'm going to watch the dollar index very, very closely to see where it goes coming up on this. So yeah, good questions, guys. I hope I answered everybody's everything. Did I miss anybody? Do you guys have any more comments? Anything I missed out on? Yeah, we'll kind of calm things down for the week between Christmas and New Year's. I'll probably just post some videos and a couple of trade setups, but it's going to be it'll be quiet for about a week for sure. But I'll be in here. I'll be posting things. I'll be sending things out on to mobile trade alerts. We'll probably do a Monday webinar for everyone this coming Monday as well. So there'll be some good stuff. Scott, yes, I think the euro. I think we'll see parity, maybe in the, that one's a ways out. For some reason, when the euro gets down just below 120, a lot of things change, but I don't know if Europe's going to be able to pull themselves out as quickly this time as past times. So I think we could see, long-term big bet for me for sure is short euro dollar, for sure. Long-term, if I had to be in something right now, I'd be in a huge euro dollar sell. And I would be ready to let it go against me a few hundred pips, but euro dollar is a sell for sure. Yeah, exactly. Greece is back in the news again. Ireland's, we'll see how that goes. Portugal is kind of just off the map. So some of these countries are going to have some interesting issues, and I think it's finally time. Keep in mind though that there are huge buyers of European bonds, specifically Greek and Spanish and Italian bonds. China owns tens of billions in bonds from those countries, and so it's interesting how things can get a little bit skewed when there's big money like that involved. And yeah, it's a good point, Adrian. Good point. So, anyways, there's some interesting stuff coming up, but I do think the euro has got much more movement down to go. We're just looking to sell rallies right now. The U.S. is heading towards a rate hike, and Europe is absolutely nowhere near a rate hike. And that's pretty much all we need to know is that situation, and that should, now we just have to find the levels to get short. So, thank you everybody for attending. Oh yes, I was. Let me talk about gold for 2 seconds before we finish up here. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Gold and I'm sorry, I can't. Baki. Sorry, probably mispronouncing your name. Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Gold is making a huge run. Gold's going to hit. It's going to get below 1100. Gold will get below 1100. There's no way that's not going to happen. Gold will get below 1100. Count on that. Now, that's not a huge movement. That's about $100 down from where it currently is. That's not a major move for gold. It's a decent sized one, but it's going to get below 1100. From there, I'm buying gold. Anything below 1100, I'm buying gold. I don't have a specific entry that I am super excited about at this moment, but it's going to get below 1100, and then we're going to jump into it. Yeah, getting below 1180 will be a big deal, and then below that is going to be our our spot once again. So I don't have a really excellent setup on gold. I just know long term, without a doubt, that that's what's happening. So that 1044. I actually like 1088 quite a bit. That's a nice little 50% fib on this whole entire run up. And then we have, the 61% fib down here just below 900. I don't know if I see that one coming so much, but yeah, some of these levels, we have some big support, big resistance, big support down here in the kind of 1000 mid area, 1040, 1050, definitely at that 1088 area. So it's going down. Yeah, a nice move higher, and we could short gold. I think a move into 1250 could be a great spot to short gold. But yeah, it's looking great. Okay, guys, I'll update everything. I'll send this webinar out. So far, this is the longest thing I've ever done ever. So thanks for sticking around with us. And we have some great setups coming. So. Thank you, George. Thank you. Thanks for being on. And thank you, everybody. And have a Merry Christmas to all and happy holidays. And we have got an exciting week of news coming up. So be ready for that, guys. Thanks a bunch, everybody. We'll see you all very soon. Updates and all those are coming. Take care, guys.